On today's episode, we'll talk about showing up in Hollywood, working with Orson Welles and John Cassavetes, Die Hard, Blue Thunder, and of course, that classic among classics, Snakes on a Plane. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm Dave Kamaides, your host, and I'm coming to you from lovely Malibu, California, where I am at the home of operator Mike Ferris, who has welcomed me into his home. Mike had an incredible career. A couple of the things that he was involved with, but by no means all of them. Waterworld, Forrest Gump, Wayne's World 2, Die Hard, Scarface, Blue Thunder. I could not leave out Snakes on a Plane just because it kind of cracks me up. And he was the recipient of the 2011 Lifetime Achievement Award from the SOC. And an amazing operator, amazing career, and someone I'm very interested in talking to. Mike, thank you for having me here.
David, welcome. Glad to be here, and I hope I can give you the things you need.
I suspect you will. Mike told me that he has an intro of his own, so I'm going to turn it over to you and let you go.
Well, you know, when I did receive the award in 2011, to me, I was so grateful because it gave me an opportunity to say thanks for all the opportunities I had been given. And I have to agree, I have had such a fortunate career. But because when David first called, he mentioned, I asked him, how did you find me in that thicket of weeds out there we call operators? And he said, well, I looked you up. You won the award in 2011. So it occurred to me between when we had that conversation and now that this would be a very good way to start this conversation, because there was a section in my speech, pretty much in the middle, that I wrote just for operators.
Oh, I love that.
And it was special to me to be able to convey this. So that was my opinion. I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards and pat me on the back and say I did pretty well. Now we'll see what you think.
Okay.
I'm going to be reading this from my speech from, 12, 13 years ago. In the skilled professions, the camera operator is an unconventional, extraordinary occupation in an already esoteric world. It requires intelligence, aptitude, knowledge, experience, confidence, courage, strength, tolerance, and omniscience. New operators need to develop certain sensibilities. You must learn to value silence while recognizing exact, unambiguous prose is a skill that both duty and your future obliges you to master. Remember that actors count on you in many unspoken ways. It is not for no one they perform. You are the first person they play to. With your support, they can do anything, and like you, they need love. Humanity thrives in the creative moment. Eye to the finder, the rectangular view becomes a place of light and beauty. The senses amplify as the brain evokes, nerves synapse, muscles reflex. Operating is dancing. Your partner, the camera, is an exotic temptress who cannot keep a secret. She will follow your lead wherever you go, however you try to use her. But she is especially responsive when you are light on your feet, know where you are going, and find the smoothest part of the floor. Each shot has its rhythm. As you keep time to its cadence, you become part of the movement. Action and reaction become one. Achieving this state, you are free to watch as harmony eliminates thought. This results in simplicity. Motion slows, colors saturate, action is natural as we behold where the things order themselves in the frame, and an unforced state of visual clarity is achieved. Operators are ever in search of such perfection.
Wow.
Well, that was something I obviously spent a lot of time on.
Clearly.
But I wanted to find a way to convey something that I think maybe not all of us, but many of us feel, whether it's recognized, conscious or unconscious.
Sure.
It's there.
That was beautiful. I mean, thank you for sharing. I'm actually so glad that I didn't look up your speech and hear that, because I'm sure the video's out there somewhere. That was really wonderful. That must have taken you a while to put together, though.
Well,
there's a lot in there.
Let's see if I remember the award dinner and the whole ceremony was in February. And I think I learned that I was getting the award sometime in January. Mm-hmm. So there was 3 weeks that I had. And as my wife can and my kids can attest, I go into my office and get on the computer. I write a lot of things freehand, which is old-fashioned but works for me. But I also like the computer, too, because any good writing is rewriting. And you'll learn that in any book about writing.
Fantastic.
That's worth a penny. So I go in there and I hole up. And this was hugely important to me because this is an opportunity, as I said earlier, to say thank you.
Yeah.
And it's not an opportunity to take lightly. So I worked on it, and your reaction tells me the work was worth it. So,
well, the thing that I like about it is there's a tremendous amount of introspection in there. I mean, I've been doing this. I've probably done, I don't know, 70 of these interviews or something like that now. And what I've realized, and what most of the people that I sit down, I think, realize is we go to work and we do this day in and day out, and we do all this stuff without thinking about it, and we don't sit down and think about it that much. So that's what this sort of showed me is how much thought goes into that, you know?
That's right. And it's all a matter of personality. And my personality, you sit around watching a lot in our business.
That is true.
And I am very introspective and grateful. And somehow my mother was an excellent writer. She's also the one who introduced me to film at the very beginning of my life. So I have any of those possibilities of talent were given to me by her.
That's wonderful.
I think the key to good writing, and if this is any representation, it's just the hard slog of doing it over and over until you don't feel you have to do any more. It seems right.
Yep.
I know Ernest Hemingway, he said, who would ever want to become a writer? To write a novel is the most dastardly deed that you perpetrate on yourself in the world. And I've never forgotten that because he was such a great writer. What tortures he must have put himself through.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So how did you get into film? Was it always part of what you wanted to do?
Pretty much, yeah. My mother loved films, and I was born in the middle of World War II. So my father was in the Navy, and I became a gypsy very early, and she took me to movies. And the first movie I remember was at a submarine base in Key West. And it was a wonderful scene. And that's why I remember it. Out on the lawn with a plaster screen, and you brought your blankets and your folding chairs, and you watched the movie.
That's great.
And if you remember, I'll tell you the name of the movie later when I mention one of the key mentors, not mentors, but experiences I had early in my career.
How old were you when you saw this movie?
I was 4.5 when she took me to that movie.
And you remember it.
And her choice was a babysitter and there weren't any babysitters, and she didn't want to spend the money anyway. We were fighting a war. So I sat there and I watched. It was a black and white film, very adult. I didn't understand a word, but something about it. And the way I put it, I just never outgrew either that moment or my love of films. She never stopped taking me to films that she didn't think about my age. She thought about the content of the film and then related it to me. I think I saw The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is 1919, a German silent film.
Oh, yeah.
A horror film about a somnambulist. I don't know how old I was, 8, 9, maybe older. But she never hesitated. She knew I had the inherent interest. So that just continued throughout my life.
That's wonderful.
And to get to the point, I had 2 separate compulsions when I was young. I'm a Pisces. In my background, you didn't notice as you walk through the house when you first arrive, there are paintings of beautiful ships, which were passed down to me. These are sailing ships, clipper ships. They were passed down to me by my relatives in the past who were clipper ship captains, whalers, and Scottish fishermen.
Wow,
So when I was young, I didn't want to become a sailor. I just discovered the underwater world.
So it's in your blood.
It's definitely in the blood.
You come by it honestly.
It's definitely in the blood. And you also, I lived on the East Coast. I grew up in New York. I'm from California. I'm a gypsy. And I became serious about spearfishing when we were camping at the end of Long Island. And I would bring home blowfish that I had taken my mother's broomstick handle, unspun the broom part, and in the hardware store, I'd bought a 5-point tridents. And I had a mask, a snorkel, and fins. That's all I needed. So I brought these fish home, and they were delicious. Tastes like chicken. And my father thought I was a hero from that moment on. So, as I grew, I said, Mom, I'll make a deal with you. I want to get an aqualung. This was right at the beginning. This was, I was 10, born in 43. I was 10 in 53. So Cousteau and his partner, Émile Gagnon, had discovered and developed the single hose, the regulator, which allowed you to go underwater at any depth.
Yeah.
With a tank on your back.
But that wasn't a thing that you could just go to the store and buy, right? I mean,
not at the time I'm mentioning. But I grew up with the era.
Gotcha.
So that was the same year I was born.
And let me ask you a question, because I grew up at a different time, and I remember watching like the Jacques Cousteau specials and stuff like that. But in the 50s, was it in movies, or how did you know about it?
The 50s, it was just beginning to come to light. There was a TV show called Sea Hunt.
Sea Hunt. Oh, yes, with
mid-50s with Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
And every week he would have some kind of water adventure at sea or anywhere. Yeah. But mostly at sea. And he became a hero, naturally. So there was this poll, and then there was a film poll. I said, Mom, I got to go out to California when I graduate high school because that's where they have the deep sea training.
Gotcha.
And Santa Barbara, when you go out there and look at all those offshore rigs, those were there then.
Okay.
And they had the best places to learn the the work of commercial diving.
Wow.
So that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And my mother, again, an influence on my life, she always said, Mike, we all know you're going to be a diver. That's a given. But why not be an educated diver? Go to school. And
you wanted to basically leave high school and go start diving.
Well, my advice to a lot of very young wannabe movie makers, skip college, meet somebody, get on a set.
Yeah.
But you know what? College is a very good time to grow up, to learn certain things you're not going to learn anyplace else. So, in fact, there isn't anybody that I have ever been fortunate enough to meet and help and mentor that hasn't gone to college first. So off I went to college. I grew up in New York. I lived in 3 of the boroughs, Staten Island and the Bronx, so the only 2 I missed. I lived in Brooklyn. I lived in Queens. And then because I was getting into more, how shall I say, altercations when I started to arrive around 11, 12. My mother said to my father, he survived that fight. He's not going to survive them all. Yeah. So we went out to Manhasset, Long Island, where I had an ideal upbringing, went to a great high school, made a lot of friends, and just had a great time. But I chose to go to school in Kansas. And every one of my friends said, "Are you nuts?"
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of deep sea
You could go to Boston. You could go to Washington.
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, but I've seen all those places. I've done all that. And if I don't like it, I can always come back." Well, as it turns out, the people in Kansas were so special, so down to earth, so uniquely human that I didn't want to leave. And I spent 4 years there. And I think it helps me now because, the breadbasket is where a lot of America lives. Mm-hmm. Silly. It's where most of America lives. And knowing those people gave me an understanding of a lot of things. As soon as I graduated college, I went into the Air Force for 4 years.
What'd you study in college?
Psychology.
Okay.
I went there and
That'll help you on a film set.
Say again?
That'll help you on a film set.
My reason for that was I went in initially studying English and sociology because I was interested in people. But then I got a feeling and an understanding of psychology, and I said, this is something valuable because people are a mystery to me. And, you're 18, 19, people are a mystery. And so I switched majors, and that's what I graduated with. And I won't say that I left college with any great understanding of psychology, but what I did learn is that everyone carries bias. And if you can raise that to a level of consciousness, then you can more or less consider doing something about it, or at least being aware of it. And then, I'm reading a psychology book right now that is very accessible to the average person. I have some of my old psychology books from college. They're hard to read. They're just, and I don't think I would have made a great psychologist, but it has been enormous help in life in general. So anyway, I never quite figured out until 2009, and if you remember, I'll explain that, was on a location in Detroit, and the answer came to me. But I wondered, why did you just sign up so instantly? So there was a war on, and duty has always been an important part of my...
What year was this?
1965.
So this is the Korean
I went to school.
Conflict.
It was Vietnam.
Oh, this is Vietnam? Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
If you recall, Vietnam
Korean
was
60s,
61
yeah.
and ended in 75.
Yeah, I think of it in the 70s, but
Yeah. Well, it is in the 70s. But it was, the French got kicked out in 54, and it just kind of, the West kept working on it. And finally, Eisenhower was smart enough. He tried to keep his fingers off, but he couldn't. Did you ever see the movie The Blob?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Steve McQueen?
Yep.
Well, you get that stuff on your hand, it won't go off. So he couldn't shake it off.
He couldn't get it off.
And
yeah.
then Kennedy inherited it, and the rest
Yeah.
is history. And I am a historian, a history buff, so you're going to hear me relate to these things as we go. But I tried to teach my kids the following philosophy. If you know your history, you don't have to go back to the dinosaurs, but if you know your, say from the Middle Ages on, have at least an idea, nobody can lie to you. And believe me, you're going to come up against that.
Yep.
So I don't know how much effect that had on them, but they do kind of mention it now and then, that they remember that and so forth. But it was important to serve. I served for 4 years. I had really important and good experiences. It was a mixture of things. I started in pilot training. It was not for me. I got out and I ended up in intelligence work and overseas for NATO and dealing with, it's over 25 years now, so I'm allowed to say it out. We guarded nuclear weapons in Greece along the line that went from England through Germany to Turkey. And anyhow, that was my service years. And when I got out of the service, I'd mustered in New York City. That's where I mustered out. And I was about, 24, 25. And anybody who's grown up around New York City and they've become what they like to think of themselves as a mature grown-up, you want to live in the city a little bit.
Yeah.
So I spent 6 months living with families that I knew from my growing up years, and then finally found a place in Manhattan, another Ferris luck, $75 a month.
Oh my gosh.
Upper East Side, East 75th, between First and the river.
Now, just so was that considered a good deal at the time, or was that considered expensive at the time, or? No,
that was rent control. It was a huge deal.
It was a huge deal, but compared to today, it's a huge deal.
It's
That's
just
going for a little more today.
You know what? Just to get it, was luck, because the line must have been as long as your arm.
Sure.
And somehow I charmed my way in. I don't know how I got it.
I doubt it's still rent controlled.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Probably doesn't exist. It's
I've been back a couple of times, and it was unchanged, but I don't think I've been back in 15 years.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did New York City, and I worked on Wall Street. I hadn't mentioned that during my high school and college years, I worked at the local, very ritzy, very expensive country club as a lifeguard, which is part of my natural water interest. And at night, in the afternoon, or around 4 or 5, the Long Island Railroad would disgorge this group of haggard men with briefcases, and they would all walk over to the pool, up to the upper tier where the bar was, and just deal with the day's
drink
effects.
away the day.
And as a result, I had taught a lot of their kids to swim. I was a good guy, basically, and I had a long list of names. When you get out of the service, you come see me. So I could have been anything in New York City. Problem was, I wanted to come to Hollywood and make movies.
Yeah.
So when I got when I left, it was the middle of August, and I was going to Texas for officer training school, and all the men thought I was a hero. The women, they just I had taught their daughters and their sons, and it was a good influence to have, and I kept those cards. And when I got back, I spread them out. I looked at them. ABC News. Nah, better not go there. I'd become interested in it. I'd get hooked, and I'd stay in New York City.
Okay.
But over here, Wall Street, Bashan Company, oh, no problem. That's where I'm going. I would no more become involved in being a Wall Street broker. I mean, I was for a year and a half.
But it was just a job. It wasn't going to be your life.
I knew that this is just a time killer.
Yeah.
So I went through the program there and graduated into a managerial position. And I spent a year and a half, watching people file things and do stuff of that nature. And it was interesting at a certain level, but not to me. So at the end of 1970, it was 1969, 1970, I started having an itch, and it was time. I drove to Kansas City, where I still had some friends from college,
Sure, yeah.
Left my car, and flew to L.A. Okay?
Did you know anybody in the film industry?
My sister was here.
But not in the film industry, though.
She was.
Oh, she was.
She was a very low-level, below-the-line administrative.
Okay, so you had some connection.
Oh, no,
on a
there
level.
was
Yeah.
definitely. But listen, this is another piece of Ferris luck. She dispatched Mike Stringer to the airport to pick me up. And by the time he got me to her house where I was going to stay, I had made one of my all-time best friends for life. And he mentored me into anything good that happened to me.
He was in the industry?
He was a jack of all trades film.
Okay.
He was a gaffer. He was an assistant cameraman. He was an operator.
Wow.
All non-union.
Yeah.
So all those things were
Sure.
catch as catch can.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was he was the best. So I was off to, I'd say, a pretty good start with him. And as it turned out, he proved to be so much better than I could have dreamed.
That's great. Great.
And when you have nothing and you're starting from zero, I think friendships mean a lot. Look, friendships are really all we have, and you'll figure out after this is all over that I'm a bit of a philosopher. And that has to do with my Scottish background, and I can't help it anyway. All the reading I've done, all the things I've learned, and all the things I've seen, it forces it on you.
Sure.
But Mike was absolutely, I'm thinking the word essential, but it's not the right word. He was, the way I put, you're the reason for my success. His reaction was, nah. No, you were always going where you were going.
That's nice.
And I heard that again in my career, but, I'm just appreciative of that which is around me. He was one of those great moments.
At that point, did you have an idea of sort of what you wanted to do in the film industry, or you just wanted to do something and you didn't know?
Had no idea which end of a C-stand went on the ground.
So you just wanted to be involved somehow?
I had to be in the film business one way or the other. So he began taking me on sets. He was working on 1 week. If it was an epic, it was a 2-week shoot. These little movies that were just, and they were exploitation. We all worked for Roger Corman.
I worked for Roger Corman as well.
There
Everybody
you go.
did.
Who just passed away.
Yeah.
Almost made it to 100.
The number of careers that he was responsible
hands
for.
down.
It's unbelievable.
We were always aware of of his influence because we were always coming and going from a film. And I worked on a movie with him.
Really?
Yeah, that he was directing.
Yeah.
And I guess this is years later, and I'm, lower down the totem pole. You start at the bottom and work your way up. And by then, it had become clear that camera was my interest. But he was such a screamer. And I hadn't experienced a lot of screamers at that time. And I hadn't developed the knowledge that you have to learn to deal with screamers. You can't scream back, and you can't grab them by the throat. You can't do any of those things that are natural impulses. Mm-hmm. But it just took an instant dislike to him. But we both survived the experience, the encounter, and it was, a couple of weeks. And he wasn't always screaming. There were times in which he was composed and rational. And I remember later on in my career, after having met more than my share of screamers, that he balanced the ledger by giving people opportunity, by being by having that psychological aspect within him that I'm sure he was totally unconscious of, that required him to scream. Mm-hmm. And that's usually a sense of responsibility that you can't handle. So it comes out in the most negative way.
Yeah.
Anyhow, as I would watch him on a documentary or see him physically from a distance somewhere, I kind of gave a bit of a pass because he was a very important aspect of our industry.
Yeah.
Important to know that when I came on the scene, which was 1970, but my first full year was 1971, there was a very strong demarcation between non-union and union.
Oh, there was back then
Absolutely.
as well. Okay.
And
did those worlds cross over at all?
It was,
or they were completely
there was
separate?
crossover, but it might as well have been what Churchill called the Iron Curtain over Europe.
Interesting.
It was very unacceptable.
So how did you stay with Corman for a while? Were you there for just a little bit?
Corman was on and off, bounce back, whenever the opportunity came up. I remember probably the biggest thing I had with him was Boxcar Bertha.
Boxcar Bertha.
And I think it was early.
Which was Scorsese?
It was Scorsese.
Wow.
But I was there and I did pickups. It was after the film had been basically shot. And
what are you doing on the crew at this point? Are you in camera?
I'm trying to be an assistant.
Okay, so you're helping out with whatever.
Yeah, I can digress from this and give you a more direct direction. When I went with Stringer on my first film set, I remember the film was called Bury Me an Angel, and it was 1970. And the big trend, especially in exploitation films, were biker pictures. Mm-hmm. I mean, and even big stars did them after a while. It takes a while for trends to build. Just like podcasts. They become
exactly
commercial.
Right. Yeah.
I remember them 10 years ago or longer. But once the big money discovers them. So we were doing these pictures, and I was following Stringer around, and I swear I'd landed on another planet. I did not understand the language. I didn't understand the people. And when you think about it, they're living in several different universes. They're living in the story of the script. They're living in real life. Some directors and producers are living a fantasy life of their own.
They're in another realm, yeah. Yeah, we've been there.
As for some of them, it's what they must do. So, so I looked around that set. I had already been a pretty good still photographer. My mother had a still 35 Yashica that she kept in her drawer with her shirts and tops, and she just kept it there so burglars didn't find it. Every now and then I was allowed to look at it and play with it. When I got in the service, there were certain things I could afford because the PX, everything's a third of what civilians pay.
Oh, okay.
And so I bought a camera, a Pentax, and I bought my first Rolex, which to a diver is Valhalla.
Yeah, yeah.
So I looked around and I said, everybody's gathering around that thing over there. It was a camera. And I said, that's where I should go. So from that moment on, that was it. I was starting to do that, and I became an assistant. What I haven't mentioned to you yet is that Mike Stringer was working for a man named Gary Graver, who has become quite famous in the industry for his associations. And as we'll find out shortly, he was working in secret with one of the great directors the industry has ever spawned, Orson Welles. And he was working on a film Orson never quite finished, but got so close to finishing, other people were trying to finish it for him.
The Other Side of...
The Wind.
The Wind, yes.
Who else would name a film that?
Now, did you know David Newell back then?
David Noel.
David Nowell, sorry, yeah.
As you jump ahead, David Noel is someone I was saving to recommend you go see next.
No, I've talked to David Noel. And
okay.
He told us, you were on that movie with him then, and he told me
I was on the movie with him?
Yeah.
Let's reverse that.
Okay.
No, we were on the movie together.
But he told me about Orson. You shot a lot of it in Orson Welles' house, and he would come out sometimes in his bathrobe and whatnot.
Oh, no. The pictures are in there. We'll go look again.
That's fantastic.
Orson leased a home in Cave Creek, Arizona.
All right.
And he decided that was, Orson paid for everything himself.
Yeah.
So he had to figure this out in a manner that he could afford.
Was this his last film that he directed?
No, he did F for Fake, which we helped him with.
Okay.
He did a few smaller things, but this is the last film of consequence.
Okay.
With a narrative and,
What was he like to work with?
He was incredible. And in a positive way. The idea of screaming was not part of his soul. He could be disappointed by things that happened, but he was never overreacted. He was a delight. I wrote a very long essay for the New York film magazine Cineast, which when I started talking to the editor, and that's a negotiation, he said, we can't print anything long. Well, I was darned if I was going to shorten anything, and I wanted it to be published. And in the long run, what I ended up with, they printed everything.
Yeah.
He and I agreed to take out one little story that had been printed. It's told so many times.
It was about that film, you're saying, or just about Orson Welles in general?
It's about Orson Welles in general, but the center was about working with him on this film. Was
he? I think of him as an auteur, but was he a collaborator as far as being open to ideas?
He was a great collaborator as long as you could read his mind and did exactly what he said. No, he was an auteur.
Yeah.
The thing is that you were amazed by his ability to know every step that he wanted to take. No, he was, I think prodigy and genius don't quite get up to the level of what he was.
Really?
No, really. Wow. I mean, you have to experience it.
Yeah.
And if you were to fill the room here with people who worked with him, they'd all give you their version of that.
That's amazing.
But I think, certainly I'd never met anyone like him.
Does someone like that get frustrated with people who are not on that? Because most people, almost all people are not on that level, obviously, right?
No. You know what? I searched forever for the title. And for any writers out there.
For the article, you mean? The title
Yeah,
for
the title of the article. For writers out there, don't worry about it. It comes. It just floats in from nowhere. So if you spend a lot of time racking your brain, I mean, I did that for a couple of days, and the titles are laughable. But one day I realized I was talking about Orson's humanity. That was the part that interested me. The editor was a great guy. His name is Gary Crowdis, and I think the magazine, which you can see is slick and very well produced, and an excellent piece. He and I talked nominally. One of the things, I didn't put it in the category, but I think it belongs there. Another piece of Ferris luck. This was 2015, Orson's centennial. He was born in 1915.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And everybody was looking for information.
Sure.
I mean, I went to the school that he attended when he was a kid for a conference there I'd been invited to. And I just sent him an email. You look in the big opening of the front page, and anything that you would like to send, and here are the rules. So I did that, and I sent an email to Gary Crowdis. Would you be interested in a memoir of someone who worked on The Other Side of the Wind?
Yeah.
I got an email back in 20 minutes, and we were off to the races. And what I said before about editing, editors are very important because they see things from up here, whereas you're blindered in. And it amazed me when you get a chance to look through the magazine. I don't know, I haven't counted the words, but it was long, and I knew that would be an issue. They made it the centerpiece article of the magazine. Yeah. It's all there. We agreed to take out one little paragraph story, which was really about Orson's character and personality that I thought would be revealing. But it had no place in this particular piece because it really is about Orson. So what I was saying earlier to writers about how the title will come to you, when I realized I was really most interested in talking about Orson's human qualities, Orson Welles, the human side of genius.
When you saw him working with actors, was it something special, or was it? Because I always wonder when you work with really great filmmakers, sometimes you can see it, and sometimes there's not. It's just.
It's great that you're an operator as well, because you have those same experiences we all have. And my observation is most good directors leave actors alone. You know the famous dictum, I would never give one of my actors a line reading. And I will give you a quick little anecdote. I was working on a great TV series called Fresno. It was a send-up of the 70s, 80s nighttime soap operas. And it starred, Carol Burnett.
Wow.
One of my favorite all time. Let's see, Charles Grodin, Dabney
Coleman,
who I became very good friends with.
And is this mostly this before they were sort of big stars?
No, they were big stars.
So this was okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this was a Mary Tyler Moore production.
Okay.
So this was big deal. It took us 4.5 months to complete the series.
Huh. Okay.
And it ran 6 consecutive nights on TV.
So it was like a mini series almost.
It was a mini series.
Yeah.
It was an epic.
Yep.
It was funny as heck, but I think in the end went over the heads of a lot of the audience.
Didn't connect.
Which is neither here nor there.
Yeah.
While we were shooting, there were cuts because we were all laughing so hard. And everybody was
I'm going to have to
laughing.
look this up. This is great.
But at the end of the show, the director and I, Jeff Bleckner, And you don't forget the good guys. He and I were very good friends by the end.
You were operating on this at
I
that
was
point?
the A operator. The cameraman was Bob Stedman,
Okay.
a very close friend of mine, a diver who he and I had some of the great diving adventures in history. That's a whole other story. Bob was really a gifted and talented cameraman. He was technical first, social second, but he was very good. But I knew him intimately. Our kids were raised, they were born 3 weeks apart, raised together, still all very close friends. Bob is gone now, however many years it is. Jeff Bleckner was just a great guy, a hip, knew what he was doing friend. And we had just become pals. And because Bob was never on the set as much as he was at sea. He built his own sailboat.
Okay.
He just loved the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's really where he belonged. His brother, who's a little older, had gone into the tugboat business in Portland, which is where Bob should have gone. However, Bob loved films, and as I say, he was incredible. He, along with a man named Weaver, created and built the Weaver Stedman head.
Oh, Bob Stedman. Okay. Wow.
That Bob Stedman.
Wow. Okay.
And you know how useful that piece
Oh, absolutely. That's a workhorse.
For those who don't know, it's a camera mount that goes on 3 axi.
Yeah.
And you can do shots with it.
And also you can undersling it so you can get the camera low.
So you can be literally an inch off the ground.
Yeah.
So it was a great, and that had been around forever when I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bob was just, one of those guys who was a dreamer, but he had different dreams. Me, I was locked into this show like you wouldn't believe because I love storytelling and movie making, and especially actors and acting. So he comes over to me. We're about to shoot the last shot in the movie, and it's a waist shot of Carol with a background. She's kind of in front of a, I don't know what it was. It was a balustrade, something. Mm-hmm. Anyway, there's all this other interesting stuff behind her. And Jeff comes to me, and just to remind you, we're talking about line readings. Jeff comes to me, and he says, watch this. We're going to do the first take with Carol. And you know what the gag is, Mike. The gag was she never muffed a line. She never got anything wrong. And her attitude was always perfect.
Okay.
He says, when she's finished, because it's going to be what it always is.
Perfect, yeah.
How is it, Mike? Cut, wrap. She says, I'm going to ask her for a line reading. So he goes, we do the take. She's perfect. Absolutely picture perfect. And everybody's ready to just hoot and holler. And Jeff walks over to her and whispers in her ear. And she looks at him and she thinks for a second. She goes back. And I think he had asked her to be a little arch or a little angry or something. Whatever it was that he asked her to do, she did perfectly. And I'll never forget the end of the shoot when he says, cut. He doesn't look at her. He doesn't look around. He looks at me and goes, and I'm just showing a shrugged shoulder view that there was nothing you could do to shake this woman.
You couldn't shake her. That's fantastic.
And also when I'm asked who my 2 favorite actors are in the business, I've always been a snob about feature films because that's what I grew up with.
Sure.
That's what I knew. And they get the money to do it right. And, but I'm not really a snob because acting is acting. And the things that people doing TV production pull off are extraordinary because they don't have the time or the money.
No. Yeah.
And they do great things. Well, the answer to that question is, and I always love it, and I laugh at myself, Carol Burnett and Richard Crenna.
Richard Crenna.
Two
Wow.
TV actors.
Absolutely.
Who in their feature world and life were not just great, wonderful actors. They were great people.
That's wonderful.
They're just delightful to work with, funny, friendly. Richard Crenna was so witty. When he came on the set, he knew everybody's job, and he played and he laughed, and then roll it, he was boom, the character. And when you're around these people and you find they become affectionate toward you, you're in heaven. I had a bit of an angle on that, or maybe the right word is I had a advantage. Because of my interest in film. I could recite every one of their credits and a lot of their dialogue from films.
And it's worth mentioning this was before the internet, so it wasn't easy. It wasn't looking it up on set like today.
No way.
Yeah.
No, it was all in me.
Yeah.
And I had always made a point of looking at the credits. It didn't mean much to me in the beginning because in the early days of film, 40s, 50s, 60s, credits are at the beginning.
Yep.
In the 70s, 80s, they began to get smart and put them at the end or change them around. But I always waited or went back and watched the movie again to see who the character actors were. And it seemed to me, because there were so many good ones, Edward Buchanan, Strother Martin, Charles Coburn. The list is long, and I'm still discovering them. That you did a tribute to them by remembering their name.
Sure.
And I couldn't wash it away if I had a scrub brush. It just was there.
Well, like you said, that must have meant something to them and made an impression because not everybody.
I think it does because look, when I said in the speech, like the rest of us, they need love. I mean, we're all the same. We don't admit it. We're some of us unconscious to it, but really we want each other's approval. We want to get along. We want, to be successful so people will like us.
Well, it's interesting. There's a director that I've worked quite a bit with named Tommy Shalami, who he created The West Wing, among many other things.
What was his name?
Tommy Shalami. He has an interesting last name. But he's a phenomenal director. We were talking about actors, and I was asking him about, what do you do as a director when you work with an actor who's abusive or who's, screaming or whatever, because it does happen. And he said something really interesting to me. He said, if I have an actor who's acting that way, what I realize is that's a person who's completely frightened.
Completely what?
Frightened.
Yeah.
They're afraid because of what they have to do. Because can I do it? Because what? And he said, so if you take that tact on it, which I had never thought of before, I just thought, oh, these are unhappy people or whatever it is. And he said, no, that's someone who's completely, absolutely petrified of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I thought that's so fascinating because suddenly that's a very different way to deal with someone.
There's that psychology again.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's so important in understanding people, and I'll bet he was a good director.
Oh, he's a phenomenal. He still is. But so because you brought it up, as a camera operator working with actors, did you find that you pulled from your psychology background a lot, whether you realized it or not?
Whether I realized it or not, I'm sure I did. I'm trying to think of things I might have done consciously.
Yeah.
Not to win people over, but to make them more comfortable. They're there, but they're not in the forefront of my imagination. I do remember I did a picture with Charlton Heston, which was one of the great joys, one of the things I remember.
What movie? Do you remember?
It was a TV movie called Tall Men.
Okay.
And it was a modern-day Western. He was a ranch owner. His son and he were estranged. His son lived in Paris. So you can see the dichotomy, right?
Yeah.
The cultural difference is right there. And he's dying, so he needs his son to come back. and there needs to be
The world's colliding. And
exactly.
All,
They need, and Peter Strauss was the son, very good actor, has a ranch out here, and so this particular incident was the first week of the show, and I had worked with the British quite a bit, and I guess that gets out into the ether because I got called by an English cameraman who was shooting it. Charlton called me Chuck. Yes, sir, Mr. Heston. Was absolutely down-to-earth, wonderful man.
Really? That's great.
And I soon discovered every bit my match as a film buff.
Oh, really?
He knew them all.
Wonderful.
And it was wonderful because you could just go into the very unique, unheard of film pile and have someone to talk about.
Yeah, sure.
And I remember we became closer when at lunch he called me over and we sat and ate. I said, my guess is you're always asked about the obvious films. 10 Commandments, Ben-Hur,
Sure.
El Cid. Tell me about Will Penny.
I don't even know this movie.
And his eyes just lit up.
What is it?
His eyes just lit up.
Yeah.
He put his hand on my arm and he said, you know, Mike, it's only the people who understand who ask me about Will Penny.
Sure.
Will Penny is a 1968 Western
Okay.
in which he obviously plays the lead that was directed by Tom Grise. And his son has the part of the young boy in it. And the story quickly is he's a grinder. He's when you meet him, he's out on a roundup. The roundup's coming to the end, and he's got to find another job. And he ends up with a job up in the high country, just watching the horses for this other ranch. And when he gets there, there's this abandoned woman and her child that have been left there. And he just says, you can't stay here. They're going to come up here and that cabin's for me, and you can't stay here. And obviously they have a relationship and he can't toss them out in the snow. Anyway, Charlton Heston's performance is among his best.
I'll have to look for this.
Oh, no,
Okay.
you will not be
I
disappointed.
was not aware of this.
If you're a Western film fan, you must see it. It's in the top 10.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
B, if you in any way enjoy acting. But C, if you love Charlton Heston's acting, you know, it's a broad canvas when you do The Cid. But the intimate, smaller films, those are the ones actors love to get their teeth into.
Yeah.
And boy, did he run with this.
Ah, that's wonderful.
So we befriended each other long before this incident. This is what happened. He's in a scene where he gets on his horse, hops on his horse, and rides off to a distant point and rides back.
Sorry, this is in the movie that you worked on.
This is in the movie I'm
Yeah,
doing with
yeah.
Charlton now. And I follow him out. Not a lot of, I shouldn't say shoe leather, horse hoof. Not a lot of horse hoofs. He goes out, he comes back, and he jumps off his horse. All quite lithe. I already know that he has back issues. And when you see him walking before they say action,
Oh, you can tell.
he's been through it.
And then he
He's
snaps
in his-
into
absolutely
pushes it
snaps into it.
Yeah.
And he gets off his horse, and without my realizing, I take his perfect and Mike, how was it? No video. And the director asked me, and the cameraman comes over, and I said it was fine. It was good. And Charlton, on the ground, just looks and says, "What? That's it? It was just good? It was fine? It was..." And the director, who was also a good friend of mine, because we'd done a lot of shows together, "Let's do a take two." So Charlton just razzed me for that. So we do take two. Cut! I come out from behind the eyepiece and I do a perfect cartwheel. I mean, perfect. You got to get straight up. You see the Olympics, they're the only ones that do good ones.
Yeah.
My granddaughter's trying to learn one now. She's way off because her whole body's out of. I did it perfect all the time, yelling and hooting and saying, hooray! And that was my way of answering the question.
Yeah.
After which I went over to Mr. Heston, and he was just preparing for the next scene. And we shook hands, and he hugged me. And it's just...
That's wonderful. Yeah, what a great
it
story.
It is. It's a payback for all the hard work I did getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it occurred to me, you said your eye in the eyepiece. Did you start working with the Rackover system before you got to the system where you could...
I'm not that old,
Okay,
son.
I don't know when it came in,
However,
but you were probably pulling focus on the Rackover,
excellent question. Well, I didn't follow all the normal steps.
Sure.
So, yes, I was an assistant, but I was also an operator.
Okay, yeah.
In my non-union days.
Gotcha. So you're back and forth.
Until because you could do that.
Yeah.
But also because of my reputation. The camera was the big Mitchell encased, but it was a reflex finder.
And my other question is, were you always on the wheels, or did you have fluid heads back then as well?
Well, by the time it mattered to me, we had the choice.
You did? Okay.
Absolutely.
Again, I don't know when that came in. Okay, gotcha.
No, wheels, I think, were always available.
Wheels were always available, but I don't know when fluid heads became a thing.
I'm speculating, but I think fluid heads were a result of the European...
That's what I thought.
Influence as more Europeans got involved in our industry.
Yep.
I preferred the wheels. I, to this day, will swear by them. I think they allow for the greatest shots possible. However, things changed during the era to where shaky cam was important, handheld was more important. Yep. It depended on the director's vision. But by and large, 80% of my career was you're a fly on the wall. You're telling a story, you're not there. Mm-hmm. And that was something I emotionally agreed with and professionally preferred. But you do what the job requires.
Yeah.
So I was very good at all of it.
Yeah.
I purposely resisted becoming a Steadicam operator.
I was going to ask you about Steadicam.
Garrett started giving classes in the mid-'70s.
Yep.
And I was... I don't know what you would call me, still a very green wannabe. I took that class. Oh. And I said...
In Philadelphia? Like back...
No, they gave him here.
Oh, he would come out here. Okay, gotcha.
I think he was here.
Yeah.
And I mean, why wouldn't he be here in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Anyway, just to go back and kind of give you a quick review. I got here. Mike Stringer... was working secretly with Gary Graver on the other side of the wind. Uh-huh. Within 3 months of being here, I'm called to the desert. Can you get out here? It was at night. Can you get out here by tomorrow at 9? Yes. And I'm not there half an hour. I walk onto the set, which is, there are pictures of it in the magazine, kind of indescribable. And there's Orson with a huge cigar, Gary by his side. And I walk over and Gary introduced me. And he says, "Hi, Mike, welcome." Great handshake. And that was it. About 10 minutes later, I'm on my knees in front of a camera lens, a zoom. Orson's on about 4 feet away on the other side. And he's yelling at me while the camera's rolling. "Mike, throw more dirt, throw more dirt." And I'm throwing them across the lens at him, hitting him in the knees, the legs, the waist. I'm just trying to avoid his face. And he's just yelling. That was my introduction. It's in the book. It's in the magazine. Yeah. That was my introduction to Orson.
Amazing.
From that, Orson worked on it as he could.
Yeah.
He'd go off to Europe and make a film
Make
to
some
make money to come back.
Yep,
He'd
yep.
come back here, work on it more. And over a period of 6 years, we did that.
Wow.
And then by 76, Orson died in 80. By 76, that was done with. In 1972, I'm out there working on little films with Stringer and Graver.
Yeah.
Graver would direct and shoot little movies of any type, exploitation movies. We did a couple of Cormans, I think. We did one, who cares about the title? It was Moonshiner. And we did it up in Northern California. And it was successful. It did its job. It made money. But I was on my way up the hill to Gary's house to prep for one of these small shows. And he lived in Laurel Canyon, up Lookout Mountain.
Lookout Mountain. There was atop Lookout Mountain. There was like the military base. That
I never
made
got
movies.
that high, but
yeah, all the way at the top. All the way at the top.
Well, as I'm going up the hill, the road diverges around this building, which is a little school, and there's a stop sign on the upside and on the downside. So if you turn and look to your left, the person at the stop sign you could talk to. Well, who comes down the hill on his motorcycle is none other than Seymour Cassell, who's a part of the John Cassavetes, company.
Yeah.
Well, I had seen him at least 13 times in one of my favorite films of the 60s, Minnie and Moskowitz, which starred Seymour and Jenna Rollins, who just passed away last month, 94. What a wonderful dame she was, a wonderful woman. I don't feel right calling her a dame unless she was British, and they would have made her one.
They would have
believe
made
me.
her one, exactly.
Anyway, he was dressed exactly as he was in the film. Long ponytail, mustache. I mean, nobody could grow a mustache like he did.
Yeah.
It was out to here. And same jacket and same motorcycle, a Triumph. So what would you do? I just yelled out, "Hey, Seymour!" And Seymour, being Seymour, pulled the bike over and we started a chat.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
And there was nobody coming down and nobody coming up.
Amazing.
And nobody in the school.
Different time, right?
Very different time. So he listens to me. I had to go on at least 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 6 minutes. And I just tell him how much I think of his work, of John's, and how I was sitting in a theater watching faces saying, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Doing what I'm doing when they're there, doing what they're doing. And he just, toward the end, he pulled out a piece of paper and he wrote down a number. And he said, "Mike, John is getting ready to start a feature. Call him up." Gave me that, and we parted ways.
This is the 1970s version of texting you the information. That's fantastic. And it
If
gives
you will.
John Cassavetes' phone.
It couldn't have happened if text existed.
No. Did that blow your mind?
No, it focused my mind.
Yeah.
Instead of going up the hill to prep,
Yeah.
I turned around, went back down the hill. My house was about 10 minutes away. All the time thinking, I get on the phone, how do I get past the phalanx, the protectors of the god?
Yeah.
And I get on the phone. "Hello, Faces International. Yeah, this is Mike Ferris. I was just with Seymour and is John Cassavetes there?" And it was a girl's voice, and she said, "Yeah, hold on."
So the phalanx wasn't that hard to get through.
No, that's the key to understanding John Cassavetes.
Yeah.
There's no nonsense. He's
So you're calling his house probably or something?
no
or
calling his office.
Calling his office, okay. But
And he gets on, "Yeah, this is John." And I just spew out everything I told Seymour.
yeah.
And the man is absolutely wonderful. He doesn't say a word, but I think he's wonderful because he listened to me. I could hear him listening. It was just, there was an intent that I could feel.
How wonderful.
And what do I know? Except that I believe anybody who could make the films he made, that came out of my subconscious.
Yeah. So basically, you were just saying, I'm impressed.
I'd do anything to work with
whatever
you.
I can do, I'd love to work with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he says he waits for me to catch my breath and he's so.
How old are you at this point?
I'm probably pushing 30.
Okay. All right.
Let me think. 28, 29.
All right.
And he says, Mike. He's already calling me Mike. He says, Mike, I'm working over here at Radford, the studios, and this is a Wednesday. I'll never forget it. He said, we finish work around 5. Why don't you come? I'll have a pass for you on Friday. You park in front of my building. Come up to the second floor. We'll talk. That was
Amazing.
it. Yes, sir. So where do you think I was at 5 o'clock on Friday? And I had passed this studio, Warner's multiple times, because Warner's was the end all and be all in my
the top
mind.
of the hill, basically.
It
right?
was for me because of the films they made.
Look, the first studio I ever went into was Warner Brothers, and I remember being at the gate and being outside the gate, sort of going, what am I doing in here? This is more, that's the movies, right? Yeah.
To me, I was a huge fan of the films they made.
Sure. Yeah.
But all my version of you was driving by saying, how do I get over that fence?
Yeah.
It was absolutely impossible.
And here he is inviting you into.
So here I am in Radford, not quite Warner's. Warner's turns out to be my home studio. Mm-hmm. Long story short, I walk up the stairs, and it's a huge, huge room, like an old. If you've seen the front page with Cary Grant, the way news papers used to be. Yeah. Glass partitions, but you could see everybody, and typewriter, all this, except a big open space, 2 men in the corner, and a woman sitting on the couch, and a man walking back and forth. She's writing everything he says down. And in the corner, there's a guy with a sketch pad and a guy who's talking rather loudly. It's not that he was loud. His voice was very resonant, with a big cigar. So I walk in. I don't know where to go. John sees me instantly, stops what he's doing, comes over, greets me like a long-lost friend.
He's the one who's walking back and forth, and someone's
He's the one walking back, dictating to his secretary.
Yeah.
And he greets me as though he hasn't seen me in 20 years, and I'm his best friend.
Amazing.
And he takes me over to introduce me. The guy with the sketch pad is a guy named Peter Falk. Is that it?
Peter Falk.
And the other guy with the cigar is Ben Gazzara.
Oh, my gosh.
Husbands is 2 years behind us, and they were all best friends. John grabs me by the elbow, takes me into one of these enclosed spaces, except you can see all of it. And he goes behind the desk, sits down, points to I sit down in the visitor desk. Yeah. He reaches into the drawer and pulls out a script about 2.5 inches thick and throws it across the table at me and begins to tell me the story of a woman under the influence in detail for an hour and a half.
Wow.
Now,
You must have just been in shock.
Again, I was very focused.
Yeah.
But what I realized was there was a lot of emotion in what this man was saying, and I wasn't getting it all. I wasn't picking up all the nuances. Yeah. But he was so involved with the story that it overcame him a little. That was how I met him. A month later, he was very smart. He brought the whole crew together on the house in Hollywood on Taft. He had bought the house out from an elderly couple, and production design painted the whole house, redid it all for the purposes of the film. And he had the crew work together on it. And by the time he was done, he knew everybody.
You're saying to get the painting
to
and
make
getting
the house film worthy.
Yeah.
His idea of what the
Wow.
film should be.
Wow.
And there was, production people there and who could help and do. But what I learned about John was what mattered most were your feelings. And the reason he liked me instantly, he saw a fire in my eyes. He knew I cared. And he knew I wanted to become a cameraman. So without going into that whole story, he made that possible on that film.
That's incredible. What a great story.
Long story short, he had an AFI cameraman who had just graduated, who was running, had his own crew, and he was all ready to go with that. After 3 weeks, he fired him and made me the cameraman. And he said, Mike, you and I are going to finish the movie together. We shot over 1 million feet of film, and I learned more than you could learn in 100
That's
years.
That's school right there. That's incredible.
It was incredible.
You were on that movie. You were basically doing camera and lighting. I'm assuming you were
No lighting.
just operating the camera.
The lighting were photo floods.
Oh, okay.
That's not. John wasn't interested in.
That's true. Yeah, when you look at it,
those niceties.
Yeah, and I mean, does it sort of feel like that's where you sort of became a camera operator and truly learned about
hands down.
Yeah, by the end.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the camera was a big Mitchell on wheels.
Okay.
I remember the scene that I remember the most is this what we call the spaghetti scene. That's a scene where Peter's character, who's a construction foreman, they've worked all night on a burst water main, and that section was shot by Haskell Wexler, just a night or two of shooting. They come home in the morning, and the whole, I don't know if you've seen the film. That's Jenna over there.
Yeah.
You have or have not?
Yeah, but a while back.
Okay.
I wanted.
Then you know she's an eccentric kind of gal.
Yep.
And as soon as but she's so full of love and so sweet, she disarms everyone except for those who become suspicious and don't trust her, and that's about them. And when the men come, there's about, 10, 12 of them. Traipse, I can tell you what happened if I were to do that with my wife, we'd all be sitting out on the driveway. She would feed them, but, she'd want to, Nick, do they want spaghetti? Spaghetti is really good. It's the only thing she knows how to cook. How about some spaghetti? You want some spaghetti? And so that's the scene. Well, at the end of the scene, they're all lined up on this long table, and Nick's at one end and she's at the other end. And she does this famous dialogue, very famous, where she talks about Nicky, I can do anything. Meaning she's sort of being subservient to him, but she's also professing her love in her own unique way. And I'm not like one of those women you see walking down the street with their, and you ask them for the time and they won't, and their nose in it. Her performance for a non-union movie, and this is key. That's why I told you earlier, the
different worlds.
The world, the iron curtain between union and non-union. This non-union film was nominated for director and actress.
Was that unheard of, basically, for that to happen?
Unheard of.
Yeah.
Unprecedented. Really? Never happened.
Didn't know that.
And it was tantamount as far as my reading and becoming more of a Hollywood historian, knowledgeable about how it was the same as getting the award, because they could not deny her performance. And it became the sensation that film became the sensation of the year.
Sure.
And over time, it has become the number one independent, they call films like independent film ever made.
Really? Yeah.
So, it was a huge responsibility. I brought in some friends that because I had grown. And I brought in and they were other film buffs like Les Otis, who was one of the best people I met early on. And I'm not sure, but I think Les was pretty much a lifetime assistant, but absolutely the best. And he came in, helped me. There is a podcast in the Cassavetes days because the stories are quite unique. Anyway, that performance, when I'm behind the camera looking at it, I have both hands on the wheels. Otherwise, if I was able, I'd be pinching myself with the other hand because
you're getting to watch this.
I couldn't believe I was
performance.
where I was.
Yeah. And that's one of the great things about being a camera operator, right? You said it in your speech there. You're the first audience, and I love that. It's fantastic.
It is, and it's a privilege of the job.
Yeah.
I personally think in the beginning I said that it's an extraordinary job in an already esoteric world.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any job I was a veteran, so I would call civilian life, that's quite like being an assistant and being an operator. Mm-hmm. You have to do it to understand the conversation.
Yep.
And there's no training school for it.
Well, that's one of the interesting things,
That's the part
right?
that's remarkable.
Yeah.
For the assistants, there is a bit of a hierarchy because you start at the bottom.
Sure.
Handling film, then you go to second, you learn how to use the sticks, and then, when you're ready, you become a first. And a first, to me, is the backbone of the industry.
Besides clearly there's the technical aspect of you can keep people in focus. That aside, what did you feel made for a great first to work with? And knowing the cameras, and besides the technical aspects of it.
Well, first of all, you don't have any greatness without the technical.
Sure, no, that's but
you said that, but I have to say it too.
Absolutely.
The Mike Fauntleroys, the all the great assistants that I ever worked with. I'm trying to think of I have it in here. I once sat down and tried to write a list of the people who have helped me, and assistants helped me more than anybody. And I quit trying after 3 pages.
Yeah.
It was just too many people. But to answer your question, the technical has to be there so that you can develop the social. And the first thing I said to any assistant that was new to me, I said, I want you to understand the following. I don't want you to learn this at the end of the week after we've been working together. You and I need to bond now, because what we're doing is teamwork.
And back then, it's worth pointing out to people listening now, you were sitting 6 inches away from this person all day.
That's right. You were.
Opposed to now the assistants are in another room. It's digital. It's a different situation.
Well, it's a change a lot of us don't understand.
It has.
And it takes a lot of fun out of it.
Yeah.
But it's technology, and you can't not progress. But in my day, which was 85%, you're both right there with the machine.
Yeah.
And if you're on a dolly, you're both sitting down. It's an intimate. And I could whisper in his ear, or I could keep my mouth shut, which was mostly what I did. Mm-hmm. But I'd say, look, I consider focus as much my job as it is yours. What? Now, they didn't always react with a what, but I know consciously, and I learned this later, that this is something they were not used to hearing.
Yeah.
And I won't go into the reasons. I wasn't there for a lot of them, but I did witness my share of extra camera operators who would just walk away from a shot that was blurry and had been cut for that reason and not defend their assistant. And the assistant would stand there and say, sorry, I blew it. Can I have another?
Yeah.
To me, if I see the shot start to go a little soft, I whisper or I cut it.
Or you cut it.
Because that, if you cut a shot today, now look, I haven't been around it for 20 years.
Yep.
What I mean by that is the old world. I retired in 2020.
Okay.
After 50 years. So I'd been around.
Oh, so
I spent 15 years in digital.
You worked in digital as well. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I could see all that.
Yep.
But I have assistants, Jack Ellingwood, who retired because he couldn't take the lack of discipline that he was witnessing.
It's a different game than it used to be. There's no question about it. Yeah.
Well, so I want to befriend the assistant, even if he does things I don't like. Personally, I mean, I don't know what they might be, but I also learned that good assistants come in all forms.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known assistants that are missing at lunch, and when you come back, we all go in one direction for lunch. I was on location, and we set up the shot after we get back. We're back, and the camera's there, and we already rehearsed it before lunch. And he's nowhere to be found. And the AD comes over and says, Mike, I'm like, what are we going to do? I said, just keep doing what you're doing. When you're ready to roll, give me the high sign.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was an assistant I knew and liked, I said, I'll either make up a really good excuse for him or I'll lie to you.
Yeah.
But we'll figure something out. He
something
laughed
out.
and he went off.
Yeah. But you're going to cover for him. Yeah.
Exactly. So 5 minutes later, he's ready to roll. He sets me a signal. And I say, which is a sign to go.
Go ahead and roll. Yeah. Turn it over.
And I reach around, I turn on the camera, and Lou's hand comes in from like a cloud. And it's just there. And I've worked with this man long enough to not worry about him not being
he's
there.
going to be there when it has to be.
He'd been doing it all his life.
Mm-hmm.
He had it down pat. And he knew more than most people on the set. And he just was sharp. So I want a guy who's rational, reasonable, technical, and affable. I want a guy who if I had to, I could send him to the actor and say, you're just a little off your mark. Could you help us?
Uh-huh.
Which I would never do, by the way, and never with a Cassavetes movie.
Yeah.
Which I learned to kind of work within that world. And so I think assistants, almost every assistant that I bonded with, about 10 of them over the years, really became close to. Michael Fauntleroy, number one,
Mm-hmm.
Al Cohen,
Sure.
Jack Ellingwood,
It's a good list.
Bobby Settlemeyer, Underwater, like you wouldn't believe, Chris George. These guys were personal friends.
Yeah.
I would invite them to my house, have dinner with them. They were just people I liked to be with.
Well, like you said, I mean, I think the key is you're okay being around them 12, 15 hours a day.
And I'd like to see more of them.
Enjoy their company.
So that's kind of how it evolved for me.
So we touched on something that I want to ask you specifically about, because as a Steadicam operator, I'm always interested in this. Do you remember the first time you saw a Steadicam, and what was that like?
I don't remember it specifically. It's something that
Did it just sort of seep in over time?
you walk into Panavision, that's all everybody's talking about.
Oh, is that right?
Kind of thing.
I mean, it was that revolutionary.
It was revolutionary.
Yeah.
It was long overdue, and it was revolutionary, and people could see what it was going to become.
So, okay, gotcha.
And I said to myself after the class, is this what you want to do?
Was this like a week-long class or something, or a day?
I don't remember.
Yeah, okay.
Might have done it in
Yeah.
a couple of days.
Yeah.
What you basically do is strap the equipment on, walk around.
See if it appeals to you.
The only way to know is to shoot a scene.
Yep.
But I had a burgeoning thought in my mind that hadn't quite coalesced into a complete thought. But as it turned out, in the end, I decided I wanted to be what was known in the classic era as a studio operator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if they needed Steadicam shots, which every movie did at a certain level, they bring in a Steadicam guy.
Just for a day or a shot or...
All the cameramen that I worked with, they wanted me. And that's how they said, yeah, production, you'll have to get a guy for that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what it was to me. And looking back, it was the perfect thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
You know, I probably walked straighter because of it. But whatever it is, if I had done it, I might have worked more. But I worked so much.
Seems like you did pretty well.
I worked so much. I was fighting for time off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just good fortune. You
Yeah.
know, that's just one of the theories before we get off assistants. My wife taught me this. She said at one point, Mike, you don't know your reputation, do you? Because she talked to the assistants when they come to dinner. She talked to their wives. I mean, women know stuff. And she said, you don't know your reputation. I said, what are you talking about? I said, I know I have a reputation good enough to get me the next job, but what do you mean? She said, the assistants say your name all the time. I said, how do you know that? She says, I know. Just trust me, I know. And then I began to figure out how it worked. And I'd never thought about the practical side of getting work through assistants. That was just a discovery. It's like when you're a painter and believe me, I don't think I'm that talented at all. But when you're a painter and you get involved in something, before you know it, it becomes something. Well, somebody else has to stand back and say, wow, that stinks. Or hopefully, my God, that's beautiful. It belongs in museums. And, you know, I was someone who got just deeply involved in the work. I was very fortunate because I can break my career up into 3 different sections. The starting, which is what I got it. It took 6-7 years to get into the union, and that was all non-union.
Was that back when it was really hard
From
to
1970 to 1976, 77, 78. When I got in the union, I was able to straddle the fence because I got put on the roster and you could work either job legitimately, which I did. And it allowed me to peel off from the non-union. And Mike Stringer made the first mistake and the only mistake I ever saw him make. You remember my mentor? Mike, I'm going in as a DP. You can go in as an operator, all the stuff you did to
get into the union, the classification.
All you need is a letter and proof and credits.
Sure.
And I said, well, Mike, that's probably a very good idea for you. But I'm going in as an assistant. I'm going to pay dues as an assistant. And I'm going to let these people know I'm willing to work for them. Because this is a very established, long-lived kind of business, and you just don't walk in from nowhere.
Not starting too fast and too high, basically. Yeah.
So Stringer went in as a DP. I went in as an assistant. I worked 1 show as an assistant and got moved up. Okay. Mike never got a job as a DP. He couldn't break through.
Yeah.
Ended up being a spectacular key grip. Which he was capable of doing anything he wanted. He would have been a great operator. But, you know, it's a club. And if you don't knock on the door or pay attention, and I had learned that at a young age. You know, I was a Boy Scout who worked at a Boy Scout camp in the summer. I wanted to work on the waterfront. 500 applications for that. I asked for a job in the kitchen. I worked 3.5 months sweating just cleaning up after everybody. When they asked me at the end of the year, what do you want to do? We want to make you the head of the guy who does songs with when the troops come in and they. I said, thank you very much. I'd like to work on the waterfront. Next year, I worked on the waterfront.
You paid your dues.
So that was just in me. That was just part of me. And so this was an instinct that I followed, and it worked.
How many years did you operate total before you retired?
Oh, God.
You started in 76-ish, 77?
Let's think it through. I think I got moved up officially on Blue Thunder
Okay.
John Alonzo.
John Alonzo, sure.
Back in those days, a letter was written to the union.
Okay.
I want to move up Michael Ferris from
It had
first
to be.
assistant.
It had to
was
be a DP,
formalized.
but it had to be a DP making the request.
I believe
Or that-
DP and or in this case, his very close friend who was the head of the camera department at Warner
Warner
Brothers.
Brothers. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
yeah.
that was a very established system.
Yeah. So if they asked for it, yeah.
And they would call up operators and they ran the lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mike, are you available? I get a call at the night before. Are you available to come in tomorrow for such and such?
So you just get put on this movie or that movie or this TV
or
show
this
or that
TV show, that.
Yeah.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
But
So, but Blue Thunder was 1978.
1980.
1980. Okay.
And
And then you said in 22 you 20.
20, yeah.
So basically,
so what
that's
is it, 40 years?
Yeah. So my question to you is: in 40 years, as long as your career as an operator was, when you get a call for a job, are there still nerves the night before the first day?
I'm a baseball fan. You've heard about this guy, Shohei Ohtani?
I'm not a baseball fan, but I have
They-
heard about him.
Hard to miss.
How could you
They
not?
asked him that
Yeah.
question just before the playoffs started.
Yeah.
We're 2 games into the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
He has an interpreter with him wherever he goes.
Hopefully not the guy.
I
who
tell
stole
my
all the money.
wife, he speaks English as well as you or I. The interpreter's there. The guy asks her, do you feel nervous? And he's really sort of looking at the interpreter.
The interpreter.
Before the interpreter can open his mouth, he just says, nope.
There you go.
So I think anecdotes and stories tell the
Yeah.
answer better than anything else.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, this is strictly me.
Yeah.
My guess is that there are a lot of operators that feel the way I do, but I think human behavior, human makeup, psychology, all the things that make you, they all have an influence in this area. Once I learned to be a good operator, there was no shot I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
When I finished Die Hard, which was a
I want
particularly
to ask you about that. Yeah.
tough job,
Yeah.
and it was the DP was the
Who was the DP on that?
Jan de Bont.
Jan de Bont. Yeah. Okay.
The
This is before he
assistants,
started directing, I think.
the assistants have an in joke which no one will get.
Yeah.
Comedians for 500. He was a madman
I've heard that.
who was a passionate, very gifted cameraman who saw shots nobody else saw and required you to die to get them.
Well,
The way we faked him out was not to die.
Yeah. You know what happened to him on Roar, right?
I do.
So I
I've
think
heard
that says
I
it
heard
all.
that story from the first person who heard I was going to work with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine that went through the industry.
You knew he fell out of a helicopter into Santa Monica Bay?
I did not know that.
He didn't
He
strap
sounds
him.
like he's a maniac. I mean,
Here's the thing about human beings. And remember, in college, they were a mystery to me. Well, they're still a mystery to me. Less so than they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a perfect example of someone who's a mystery because you could sit down to dinner with him and meet the most calm, enjoyable, intelligent European raconteur.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he wasn't a raconteur. I'm more of a storyteller than he is, but very fair-minded, very interested in you.
yep. I've
And
heard
then on the set, it all changed.
That's what I heard.
He was a madman.
Alan Queso was on Roar with him, and Alan
there
told
you
me
go.
all about many stories. So I do want to ask you about Die Hard because it's a movie I grew up with, and I mean
Your favorite Christmas movie.
it is absolutely. Actually, one of my favorite things about that movie, which is so weird, is there's this great shot early on of the Nakatomi Towers Plaza. And there's a gas station. It's in the foreground, and gas is like 68 cents a gallon or something like that. That always tickles me.
I remember it when it was 25 cents.
Yeah, there you go. Good movie to work on. Besides
great,
the fact
great
that he
movie
was apparently
for experience and for an operator.
Yeah,
great movie to work with.
Now, a movie like that back then, was that a single camera movie, or were there two cameras?
Pretty much single throughout, except the action sequences, which would be,
which was a lot of it actually.
Two other cameras.
Yeah,
there was a lot of it, but by and large, if you review the film, you can see where there was only one camera because it's all dialogue.
Yeah,
but the action, was unique. I mean, Jan had us hanging at 3 a.m, hanging off the side of the building at the roof.
You mean the actual?
It was the 20th century building that had just been
I
finished.
look at it all the time from my house. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And it's a marker
Culver
for
City.
me how to get to Century Center.
A lot of people.
So it was, and that first shot was handheld in a car, me shooting it as his point of view as he gets there.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so that film, I remember specifically this way. It was Vilmos Zsigmond who said it takes 9 to 10 years to make a good operator. That is his declaration.
Okay.
Now, being Scottish, I said to myself, well, not for everybody. I'll bet it didn't take him 9 years. But that's just my natural contrarianness. When I was done with Die Hard, the night we wrapped, when it was all over, about 5 a.m, I said to myself, it was before everybody was hugging, and my eye had come out from the eyepiece, and I said, you know what, Mike? There's no shot they can throw at you.
That was the movie that put you over the top.
This is it.
So Die Hard, I'm trying to think of the years. You're probably 4 or 5 years you've been operating?
87.
87. So about 6-7 years you've been operating. Gotcha.
I had been in Israel for 5-6 months doing Rambo 3 itself. Very, very hard film, physically hard and demanding. I was the A operator. And that's Ferris luck, because I was hired by an Israeli cameraman that I'd worked with in the States named Duvid, they pronounce David Duvid, Gerfinkel.
Okay.
Very nice man. Well, he lasted a month. And they promoted one of the great operators that you should, if he's able, interview Peter McDonnell.
Oh, okay. I know the name. All right. I'm writing that down. Yeah.
He was the director. They just made him the director.
Uh-huh.
And it was like a combination. It was good sense to do that.
Peter McDonnell was the director?
He became the director.
Oh, wow.
He was a DP.
Oh, okay.
He was the director of the second unit, and they bounced
gotcha.
him up to director of the whole Schmear case.
Gotcha.
If you allow my Hebrew.
Yeah.
My slang. I am a honorary Israeli. I have lived there on and off over the years, a couple of years.
Oh, really?
On shows.
Oh, okay.
And personal
Wonderful.
visits.
Yeah.
And Rambo 3 was a hardship.
I can imagine.
A plane would come in every week and take the fired people out and bring the replacements in.
Gosh. Was this back in the Golan and Globus era? Was that them? The guys who produced it? Like that?
I don't remember. Might have been them.
Because they were Israelis, I think. And, and
it might have been them.
I think that was it. That was when they were making these massive, massive movies, and the money had no accounting and stuff. That was the whole time. But yeah.
Well, he Peter took it over, and I'm using this as an illustration of personal good luck, Ferris good luck. Normally, when that happens, it's a clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, because I know the Brits, I've worked with them, they're a clubby.
Yeah.
They look out for each other. They take care of it. And camera departments do that anyway, because when they find a good one, they want to screw it in and keep it.
Yep.
And that's good logic, rational, reasonable thinking. So I expected to be on one of those planes. I'd been there a month and a half, maybe. I don't know what there was, but we spoke each other's language, and he kept me on the show the whole way.
How long was that movie? You remember?
Yeah,
Was it-
5-6 months.
5-6
Five, at least 5.
Wow.
It was 5 months, and then they went to Thailand, and I went home.
Yeah.
My whole family was there.
Yeah.
My kids were little.
Okay.
87, my son was 7, my daughter was 4. And adventures were had. Glass in the ice cream.
Jeez.
Cab drivers that wanted more money than you knew was fair because you could see the
Yeah.
tower where you lived in the hotel, and you had to fight at midnight after 3 weeks in a lot, and you just got off the plane, and all you wanted to come, and you learned to fight.
Yeah.
And they're negotiators.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When I got back from Israel, I had $9,999 in my boot, which you're allowed to bring in under $10,000.
Under $10,000.
And not declare it.
Yeah.
And El Al, it is the most secure airline in the world.
Yep.
I was a known good guy, and I had multiple interviews. The big one lasted 3.5 hours.
The security interview before you get on the plane, you mean?
Great.
Yeah.
Not just before, the week leading up to.
Yeah.
So, and also I had a military background. I had top secret clearances. I had, stuff they wanted to know about, which I'm sure helped. Anyhow, I promised we lived in the marina. I promised my wife, I said, I promise I won't work for a month. I'll turn everything down.
Yeah.
And, we had fixed up the house in the marina, and, we just wanted to live a little. I think it was 2 nights later. Phone rings.
It's a horrible business. Yeah.
Mike, is that you, Mike? Yeah. Yes, sir. It's Joe Silver. I got this movie, and the DP wants you. It's called Die Hard. And I said, Joel, I'm not working for a month. He says, we'll see you here tomorrow. Whatever price you want, no problem. And so I spent what I like to laughingly call 45 days of nights on that show. And one of the things they didn't feel necessary, because so much of that movie was interior.
Interior, yeah.
They didn't turn us around. They didn't want to waste the day.
Good Lord.
Anyhow.
That's rough. Yeah.
Anyhow. But it was a great experience.
And a great movie to be a part of. I mean, that's...
I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this relates to what we talked about earlier, about how directors work. But who was it? John
McTiernan.
Thank you. He just, the first sequence I did was when the big battle in the warehouse, and the Russian dancer gets chained and rolls all the way. We do that shot, and I do it, and I thought it was just pretty ordinary action. But really, McClane comes over to, not McClane,
McTiernan. McClane's Bruce Willis, yeah.
Exactly. He comes over and he says, "You're everything I heard you were."
Oh, that's
incredible.
Wonderful. Oh, that's great.
And I'm saying to myself, smoke this early in the show? Smoke? Because it was, it was a dolly shot. You take the item here, you up on it, and you just go with him.
But you don't know who he'd worked with before this, right? So maybe, you never know.
Whatever it was.
You take it, right?
He was very courteous.
That's wonderful.
Until we do our first interior shot. And I forget I think it's the scene where he's getting dressed with the lady, Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie Bedelia.
Bonnie I'd worked with and liked her a lot. and she was a pro. And so he's met her, and they're estranged, and he's shaving or doing
this is the
something.
very beginning of the movie before
It's in the
before
very
anything
beginning
happens.
of the movie.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of the movie was shot in order.
Yeah.
So it was I don't think it was naivete, because I sort of was a force of my own. I'm 6'3", 200 pounds, and my experience has given me a certain authority, which I use hopefully only for the production. Mm-hmm. And I'm used to talking to actors. And all I do is whisper in their ear, and it's best if you're in this light or in that light or whatever helps them. So I'm doing this with Bruce, and the director, John, is about 35, 40 feet away. And there is a monitor, and he's looking at something in the monitor. And I think Bruce and I had become friends because he knew I was looking out for him, and he liked that.
Yeah.
And I said something, or he had said something that made us laugh, which caught John attention. Mm-hmm. And from that point over there, he yelled, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" You'll have to modulate that, I'm sorry.
No,
and he came rushing over and grabbed Bruce bodily and walked him away from me while looking at me. He said, "You never speak to my actors."
Wow.
And I just looked at him. I didn't physically salute, but I clicked my heels. "Yes, sir."
Yes, sir.
And that was the end of the conversation. And then, from that moment on, Bruce and I developed a semaphore. And nothing changed.
Yep.
Because if I don't do my job, I'm not helping the director, I'm not helping the actors. And I was pretty bulletproof by then. Mm-hmm. So
that's a tough situation to be in. And it's one of the things that I've told younger operators is, you'll finish a shot, and an actor, especially now with digital, where everybody's, way off intense and this and that and the other, it'll finish and it's quiet and you're sort of both sitting there, and they'll kind of look at you and you'll give them a thumbs up or something or whatever. And you want to give them feedback because you're human and you're right there, but you also have to be careful, because then the director comes over and says da-da-da-da, and they go, "Well, he liked it," and suddenly you're in the hot seat. So that's a really interesting story to hear.
That's what I meant in my introduction about learning to be quiet and to speak up with perfect diction when they want to know. They want to know. You're between the DP and the director, the two powers on the set.
Yep.
And I've worked on plenty of shows where the director of photography is the power. Mm-hmm. And the director, if he's smart, knows what he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that's one of the keys in life to learn. And for those operators you were talking about, it made me think, as I heard you say that, the key is self-awareness. If you know the limit to what you can get away with, or if you don't care, which for me was some of it.
Yeah.
Because you could fire me and I'll just be
by
at
the
work.
time you get to a certain point. Sure. Yeah.
And that's just experience.
Yep.
In my case, good luck. But also, it had been a reinforcing quality in my operating career where they looked to me. And that's the difference between digital, where the hairdressers and the beauticians are directing the film as much as the director. And I make a joke, but there's too much. There's way more of that. In my time, like John Alonzo, nobody moved. Nobody did anything from any department. It didn't go through his filter.
Yeah. Those days are long gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, for me,
the SOC's motto is "We see it first."
I know.
And I've suggested changing it to "We eventually get to see it," because the reality is there are people with massive monitors that are bigger than better than I ever see. Do you feel that operating changed when Video Assist came out and yours wasn't the only eye? Or did your job change?
In certain times and ways and personalities.
Was it a positive thing?
Both ways.
Yeah.
Mostly positive.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware that Jerry Lewis invented TV video,
Video assist.
and he did that in the 60s.
Yeah.
Nobody adopted it. I think the first time I saw it was in the 80s,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it was used more, and it was on a commercial. My point is that anything technical that helps the group is important and should be part of the equipment. We've already made the point that you can make the film. I mean, we started, the industry started in 1895. We can do it all without all this equipment. We need one box and some actors to act. But if it gets easier, look, if a guy's sitting alone in a room and he has this great story, but he has no way to effect the story and get it onto a screen, all these things help him see it.
Yeah.
So you'll hear us complain, and I love the old days and all the rest, but the reality is we all move with the times, and I have grandparents, who couldn't believe that their daughter hitched up the team and rode the team up to a promontory where she could watch the fires in San Francisco after the earthquake in 1906. I mean, so it's all technical and good. But it did change for me a number of times when people who don't know quite what they're doing are barking and controlling the camera department. Yeah. And you have one or two choices. You stand back and let him make enough mistakes that gets changed, or you try to do what he's asking you to do, which is my approach anyway. You try to help who's ever in charge.
Yeah.
Sometimes it becomes so painful that it's not worth it, but those don't happen often.
Yeah.
For me, I can't remember a time where I...
Well, Mike, this is, I could talk to you for 20
No,
hours.
I can't say.
At some point, my wife's probably going to call me and ask me where the hell I am. This has really been wonderful. I appreciate all the stories. And next year, maybe we'll do it again because you certainly have enough.
Well, I'm trying to see what I might have missed. Let me finish by saying this. Let me do it in two parts.
Yeah.
I often thought about the irony that in this business, it's all about communication. So few people can effectively communicate. And at the same time, all the great movies still get made.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of something that I tried in my career to effect positively. I would talk to people. If an assistant had a blank on his face, I'd fill in the blank. If a director was heading the wrong direction, I interviewed for my last cameraman, meaning I worked for him for about 14, 15 years straight. And when we were done with the interview, he said, "Mike, there's nothing I can say about your resume. It speaks for itself. But I would like to think that if a director takes you aside when I'm busy lighting or doing something else, that you would come to me and give me a sense of what he's doing." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Steve, that's the way I was raised. Only thing I've learned to be effective about is not doing it in the middle of a sentence when he's talking about. I'll scoot to you as fast." And that's all he needed to hear.
Yeah.
And let me finish with this. I used to keep this little plaque on my camera, but I had to do it surreptitiously because if a director ever saw it, he'd flip. And a lot of directors, it didn't apply to. The fact that no one understands you doesn't mean you're an artist. And, that applies in life in general. And I love those little quips. So thank you very much for considering to take my story and share it with others. To those operators out there, It is it's a duty and a pleasure to be able to speak to you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.